Hello there. So this begins 3 weeks of requested tutorials on how to perform air wraps and hyperloops, and of course the Mac Daddy trick of them all, the orbital. Now, all three of these tricks have something in common. They involve tangling up the tethers of the poi and then untangling them. Not surprisingly, and because poi spinners of course are very creative, we call this type of trick a tangle. A quick disclaimer. I am not the best poi artist when it comes to tangles. I find them extraordinarily difficult and I don't grok a lot of the mechanics that go into them. But I can convey to you guys the basics that I do know in the next 3 weeks. If you're still hungry for stuff after that, I highly recommend checking out the YouTube channels of Dave Static and Loki, because they've done extensive work with tangles in ways that blow my mind, and they will definitely have more advanced fare for you when you're ready. Now, that said, we're going to start at the most basic type of tangle that I know of, which is an air wrap, like this. Now, an air wrap feels very much like a 2-beat weaver tic-tac that goes between your arms. We're going to deal with the entry and the exit from this type of move separately, so we can see how the mechanics of it break down. First and foremost, the entry. Now, we're going to start off from a place where we're rotating split time, same direction in wall plane. Now, you'll note as I'm doing this, my poi heads are overlapping, but I've arranged the paths of my poi heads in such a way that they're running parallel, like a 2-lane street. Now, if we imagine that my arms are my poi planes, what we're going to do is we're going to slightly deviate from this convention. We're going to make one or both poi planes go at an angle from their normal spots. This is going to ensure that there's a point at which they cross over each other. So, for example, if I wanted to, let's take my left hand for instance, rather than keeping it flush with my body, I'm going to try and aim that poi plane somewhere off in the right hand corner, like that, such that somebody who's on the side of me could see a little bit of the profile of my poi plane, right? If we start off with them in parallel, and then deviate like that, huzzah! It makes a tangle inevitable. Another way you can practice this is if you want to put a line on the ground somewhere and then mark a point, say 6 to 8 inches away from it. You walk up to the line and you get your poi heads spinning in split time, same direction, and separate them out far enough that they can't come into contact with each other. And then what you're going to try and do is take this moment when it looks like they're going past each other in the middle, right there, and you're going to try and let the plane drift out such that that moment happens above the other mark you've left on the ground. Because that mark is further away from the line, you're going to find that your poi planes bow out a little bit. From here, it's just a matter of finding the right position to stick your arms in to get the poi tethers to cross at their midpoints. It's not absolutely necessary that you get it perfect on the midpoint, but it definitely makes the exit easier the closer you get. I don't know any really great tricks for making sure that you get the midpoint. One thing you can try is, as you're working around with this tangle, you can try catching the poi heads immediately after they tangle, like such. This will tell you right about where your tangle is happening at. And if you find that it's pretty close to the middle of the tether, well, congratulations. Most of your work is done. More than likely, however, you are going to have to practice this quite a bit in order to make sure that you get that midpoint cleanly. Cool. So now that you've got the midpoint, how do you exit? Well, it depends. There is a certain percentage of people I've found for whom once they get the poi heads tangled, or excuse me, the poi tethers tangled, they automatically untangle for them. I am not one of these people. I had to figure it out step by step what exactly happens in the middle of this in order to make it work. Chris Rovo once tried to teach me tangles by just saying, oh, well, once they cross over each other, they automatically uncross. It did not work for me that way. Interestingly enough, though, I've found that everybody I've met for whom air wraps did not feel natural can do orbitals in wall plane, and everybody for whom the exit out of the air wrap felt totally natural cannot do orbitals in wall plane like this. It might not be a perfect correlation, but so far it's held up. We'll table that for now, though. So to get to the exit, we're going to have to understand what happens in here. And for that, I'm going to switch up my hands because I'm going to introduce a funky little meme to you guys, which is that when the poi heads cross over each other, what you're looking to do is create a moment in which this left-hand poi, the one in orange, once it crosses over the right-hand poi here in blue, it's pulling it back towards you, right? So if you just wrap up your poi heads for a second and kind of play this around with your arms, have them go around in a circle like this, and right here, by the way, this of course working in clockwise since that's my dominant direction of spin, you're looking to create a moment in which you're almost trying to reach your left hand around your right arm and then unwrap both on the other side. So right hand goes over left hand, and then immediately it's reaching through to get to this hole that you've just created between your arms, and it drags your right hand through with it. When it comes to practicing this with poi, the way you can think of it is if you get your left hand rotating, I'm going to say that my right hand is going to wrap over it and then pull it in towards me, like so. Now, step by step, what's happening here is that there is a rotation on the outside of my arm that I catch, and as it's coming down, my right arm is coming towards my body, and as my right hand poi is about to come back up on the left hand side of my body, I am pulling it between my arms, like so. Yeah? To practice getting a feel for this, what you can do, once again, if your dominant direction is clockwise, is start from a reverse tic-tac or a 2-beat, like so. And notice how when it's crossing from side to side of my body, the cross point is directly out in front of me. I'm going to walk a little bit around it and leave this crook open in my arm right here. So it's open like an L. And as I do that, I'm going to pass the poi head back and forth such that it drops on the outside of my arm, and then it drops between my arm and my chest, like so. As with all things, practice this until you can do 10 of them stably, and then this motion is going to feel much more natural. Cool. So now the question is putting these two things together. And here's where the funky mnemonic device comes in. Because my left hand has, we'll call it the red poi, and my left hand, or rather my right hand has the blue poi, we're going to say the red hand led, the blue hand followed through. So red led, blue followed through. Red led, blue followed through. And what happens there is the red poi, as soon as it goes down, I'm already pulling it towards me, up through my arms, and the right hand poi follows it through. So the next time the right hand poi is on its way up, it's between my arms as well. Like so. It can also help if you want to try and get that 2-beat feeling down on your right side. If your dominant direction of spin is clockwise, you're going to start from a forwards position, and again, you're going to practice getting it kind of clockwise in front of you, and then a rotation between your arm and your chest, like so. One problem that I had really frequently when I was learning this is that I would not be able to get my right hand poi in between my arms in time to make it through, like that. If that's happening for you, I would highly recommend exaggerating the motion a bit so that you start off really far away from your body, and once you kind of capture the poi, you pull them in close to you right away. So you've got a greater distance for the poi heads to travel. and that always seemed to help me out a lot. Really what it was is that my right hand poi wasn't bowing in enough on the inside, and by creating a greater distance, it gave it some wiggle room on making that. So of course, once you get to that point, it's a matter of repetition, 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 until it feels natural. Good luck. So, next week we'll be back with a tutorial on how to do hyperloops as such. And it will incorporate a lot of the lessons we learned this week. So, really, really work hard on these air wraps this week, because that is the most basic element that's going to unlock the rest of this stuff for you. Thank you all for watching. I will see you next Friday. Peace.